What Lonzo Thinks is a wide-ranging discussion where you get to hear me wax poetic on everything from music, film, sports, politics, current events, hell, you name it, and I'm going to speak on it. Today I'm going to talk to you about This Is Us, which is a television show that airs on the NBC network. And it's actually a very, very, very good show. Hell, it's a great show. And it's very popular with audiences, and it actually got picked up for a second season, of course, and it's going to have its season premiere, I think, sometime next month. So thinking about This Is Us, I came to a lot of different conclusions once I watched the show. Every episode I watched it, and as I dug deeper into the show and analyzed the dynamic of the show, I developed a bit of a problem. And that is the theme of today's show. I'm going to call it the Conundrum of This Is Us. Okay, This Is Us was created by Dan Fogelman, and this show focuses on a non-linear, interwoven plotline designed to chronicle the travails of the Pearson family of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They are a white family. The parents, Jack and Rebecca, have 3 kids. Kevin and Kate, they are paternal twins, boy and a girl, of course. But actually, they were supposed to be triplets. The third child, a boy, died tragically during childbirth. And that was in the first episode. Great episode, by the way. Very, very heartrending. So what the Pearsons did was they actually adopted a third child, Randall, who was black. And he was born on the same day, but abandoned at a local firehouse by his drug-addicted father. Jack and Rebecca adopt Randall on site, and they round out their triplets, and then life kind of takes over from there. In the show, we get to look in on the Pearsons' lives via flashbacks as they raise these kids. Now, in the show, the kids are adults, so we're flashing back between their early life, the Pearsons before the children, during their lives raising the children, and we see the kids now as adults. So when I say it's a non-linear, interwoven plot line, that's exactly what it is. The show flashes back and jumps from place to place. So it's a hard show to follow if you're not into it and don't catch it from the first episode. So if you're going to watch it, you need to go back and watch the first episode to kind of get up on how the show is being presented to you. So we do get to look in on their lives via the flashbacks as they raise these kids. Now Kevin, who is the white son, he is a petulant, entitled television sitcom star. Kate happens to be extremely obese, for lack of a better term, and she has low self-esteem. But she works for her brother Kevin as his assistant, his manager, enabler, call it what you will. And then there's Randall, the black kid. And he is a successful weather trader. So he works in the financial industry. And he is married with 2 daughters, and he lives in New Jersey, whereas Kevin and Kate live out in California, of course. Now, the problem with Randall is that he is trying to find out what happened to his birth parents. And that's how the show pretty much opens, with Randall trying to find out more about his parents and getting up on his heritage. The thing about Randall, though, is that he is portrayed as a spineless, emo coward with a mental stability constructed of balsa wood. And I am not exaggerating when I say that. And we'll get deeper into it as I go on. Now, the show has been a popular hit for the network, and it is a strong conversation piece on social media. So, of course, it has been picked up for a second and a third season, by the way. Now, honestly, when the show premiered, I ignored it. I was not moved by that storyline. Plus, I am not much on network television dramas. However, week after week, I saw people talking about it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth. And it did pique my interest, so I added it to my Hulu watch list. And one day when I didn't have much to do, I just went ahead and dived in. Now that I've seen the season in its entirety, my takeaway from what I saw appears to be diametrically different from what the majority apparently thinks. Because what I saw kind of hit me like a sledgehammer. What I saw was a glaring metaphor of white savior, white privilege, and the marginalization of black men. I'll repeat. I saw it as a metaphor for white privilege and the marginalization of black people or black men. Okay, that's a broad and bold statement, so please allow me to explain. First of all, as I said before, the show kind of revolves around Randall, the black character. Of the three Pearson kids, Randall's life is the most fleshed out. We get to meet his wife, his kids. We see him reunite with his actual birth father, his name is William. We get to see him at work, at home, at the family gatherings, or at Randall's house. Therefore, his life serves as the foundation of the show, at least so far. So by all accounts, Randall has a good life and should be presented as a strong leader of the three Pearson kids. But no. Instead, he is the weak link that ultimately causes this show to collapse under the weight of his own hypocrisy. Because Randall is dealing with some serious issues. He cries a lot. He is pretty much dominated by his wife, and he's bullied by his coworkers to the point where he actually suffered a nervous breakdown at work. And I think worst of all, Randall, as a black man, has absolutely, positively no identity. None whatsoever. As a black kid adopted by white parents and raised in Pittsburgh, Randall is pretty much forced by his adopted parents to assimilate into the life of the deceased Pearson triplet. He must actually become that white boy that died. Now, for example, in one of the early episodes, they are at a swimming pool. And this is when Randall and the Pearson kids, they are preteens. They're at a public swimming pool. And Randall actually gravitates to play with the black kids at the pool, who are also there with their parents. Seeing this, his adopted mother, her name is Rebecca, by the way, and Rebecca quickly goes over to Randall and pulls him away from the black kids. She admonishes the black mother, who actually offers her some advice on how to relate to Randall. And while doing this, she is literally and figuratively dragging Randall back into white life because she does not want to hear what this black mother has to say, who naturally would have greater insight into the psychosis of a black child for obvious reasons. She eventually allows Randall to have a relationship with his black family, but she always keeps it at arm's length. And that particular scene resonated with me because this black parent was not trying to be harmful or implicate in any way that the white mother does not know how to mother her children. She's just offering some advice from the perspective of someone who would know more than the white mother would because she's black. And the fact that she took affront to that resonated with me because my takeaway is Randall is my son. He's black and I'm white. He lives with me. He lives in a white world. He's going to be raised in a white world. He's going to behave in a white way. And I'm going to treat him as if he's a black kid living with a white family. That's my takeaway. Now, a major twist to the story is that Rebecca actually knows Randall's birth father. Once again, his name is William. Early on the show, she tracks William down. She pays him a visit, and she learns about his struggle with addiction and as to why he gave Randall up. By all intents, William is a good man, and he clearly loves Randall and wants to be a father or at least establish some sort of communication with his son. However, Rebecca refuses and orders William to stay the hell away from him. And she keeps this secret from Randall his entire life until Randall himself tracks William down and those secrets are ultimately revealed. Restating, Randall has been stripped of his identity, and this is on purpose. Please keep in mind that Randall has a brilliant mind. He's a borderline genius. And this further alienates him from his peer group. Plus, his brother Kevin, who clearly hates him. Not only does Randall not have his own family, but he is somewhat of an outcast within the adoptive family as well. And this leads to Randall being emotionally broken at an early age, like how white masters emotionally broke their slaves by destroying the family construct and forcing them to assimilate into the white culture, going so far as to take on their last names. So you see where I'm going with this? Follow me. Now we're going to flash forward to the adult Randall, and when we see the adult Randall again, the cycle of destruction is complete. He is now a white man in black clothing. He lives in an upscale white neighborhood. He sucks up to his uppity white neighbors, the same neighbors who call the cops on him when they see his father committing the heinous crime of walking in their neighborhood. Ooh, what a crime. At work, Randall's immense success as a weather trader is marginalized by his white boss, who goes so far as to take away his major accounts, half of his major accounts. And Randall, the broken wimp that he is, takes it all on the chin. Just takes it. Now, let's circle back to Randall's relationship with his newfound biological father, William. It turns out that William, who was also a talented musician and poet, has terminal cancer and just a few weeks left to live. Now, even now, Randall's chance at finding his identity is ripped away from him. Meanwhile, but not surprising, Randall's wife, her name is Beth, is a total self-centered black bitch. She is not one who is empathetic with Randall. She is more worried about their lives not being upended by William in his last days coming into the family. And she's basically portrayed as a bitch. And that kind of stuck with me as well, because it kind of shows how the writers view black people, black women, black men. Now let's juxtapose Randall's life against the life of Kevin, the white brother. Now Kevin is a marginally successful, spoiled, enabled, privileged actor, and he stars in a fictional television sitcom called The Manny. Not The Nanny, The Manny. In the first episode of this show, This Is Us, in a fit of spoiled petulance on his job, Kevin publicly quits the show on set because he thinks that the show is stupid and he wants to be taken as a more serious actor. Makes sense. I don't blame him. But he quickly finds out the hard way that Hollywood doesn't work that way, as he is ostracized by the industry for quitting his job the way that he did. And he is basically exiled to New York to work off Broadway. He can't find any work as an actor in LA. So he goes to New York to work off Broadway, and he immediately books the lead role in a play. Just immediately. Just very little resistance. Now Kevin, he is self-centered, clueless. He ruthlessly interjects himself into Randall's life in New Jersey with the expectation that everybody just stop what they're doing to cater to his needs. Meanwhile, pretty much everything he touches turns into gold, from having sex with his smoking hot co-star, to sleeping with his smoking hot playwright, to sleeping with the smoking hot ex-wife that he cheated on and dumped several years before. So, for all of Kevin's spoiled, petulant behavior, there's no negative blowback on his actions. Now, in a nutshell, This Is Us translates to that metaphor I spoke of earlier of white privilege and the marginalization of the black man in America. Randall, as an infant, is saved by the compassionate white family that forces him to assimilate while being stripped of his history, William, of course. And he is not allowed to identify with his black peers, while being ostracized within that white family. Let's break it back down. Randall is forced to assimilate into the white family. He is not allowed to identify with his own race, with his own peers, and he is ostracized within the white family. Talk about a mind fuck. Think about it. Not good. Now, as a successful adult, William literally bends and cowers to white authority. He bends to his racially biased neighbors, the local police, even the white mailman he is subservient to in his behavior. He is pushed around at work by the people who take credit for his hard work. Slavery, basically. Think about it. Back in the slave days, the slaves worked their asses off, but who took credit for it? The white master. So Randall is so emotionally weak to the point of a nervous breakdown. Now, in a pivotal moment of season 1, William, of course, he dies. And by the way, the death of William was very, very heart-wrenching, and it was a very emotional, well-played moment by all actors involved. I will say that much. William dies, and the best that Randall's boss can do at work is to send him a box of pears. Repeating, Randall is this successful financial guru who has made his firm tons of money. He's clearly good at what he does, and his father dies. And the best thing that his superiors and his co-workers can do is send him a box of damn pears. Now, on top of that, Randall is actually allergic to pears. So they send him this box of pears along with a cold, unsympathetic card. Now, meanwhile, the marginally talented, ne'er-do-well brother Kevin, the white brother, he gets to quit his TV show that has made him rich and famous. He sleeps around, makes terrible choice after terrible choice. He actually no-shows the premiere of his Broadway show, doesn't even bother to fucking show up. And even though he blows off his Broadway debut, he gets an immediate second chance, an immediate redemption at a chance to assume that role in the play. So he blows it off. He gets a second chance to do the play. He does the play. And afterwards, he gets a call from Ron Howard, the director, the famous director, Ron Howard, offering him a lead role in a big movie that he's directing. Okay, back it up. Repeating. Kevin blows off his Broadway debut, sleeps around, makes terrible decisions, very unprofessional behavior. He finally graces us with his appearance on Broadway, gets a call from a world-famous, Academy Award-winning director and offered the lead role in his next big movie. That's white privilege. You can fuck up all you want, but you're always going to get another chance, and another chance, and another chance. Whereas Randall, he finally gets fed up with all the dumping that's been on him for his entire life by white people. He finally gets fed up with it. But he's got to quit his job to move forward in life. He doesn't get a second chance. He doesn't get another firm coming to him, offering him a CEO position or something like that. He's got to start from ground zero. While his brother Kevin, for all his petulant behavior, gets the opportunity of a lifetime for doing basically nothing other than being a spoiled, petulant asshole. Once again, white privilege, This Is Us style. Now, This Is Us was written and created by Dan Fogelman. And yeah, you guessed it, he's white. And from his very first scene, it is painfully obvious in this show, the very first scene, it's painfully obvious that the Randall character is written by a white person. It just jumps out at you once you look at it from an analytical point of view. So to me, Fogelman is laughably out of touch, as it appears that his research into Randall probably took nothing more than a few Google searches mixed up with some fixed misconception of the black man. Now, chances are that Fogelman, I don't know this for certain, so I'm speculating, but chances are that Fogelman has come across several Randall types in his life and truly believes that all black men are like that, or that is what he would like them to be. Emo, subservient, basically cowards. So, Mr. Fogelman, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but black men are not like that at all. We are not spineless louts who cower and allow themselves to be pushed around, and we don't cry at the drop of a hat. We're actually very strong people, resilient, and we stand up for ourselves. And we don't cower to white authority. Sorry. Now, do I think that Fogelman or the decision makers over at NBC did it on purpose? Nah, I don't think so. What I think is that what they believe is what comes out in that Randall character, though. If this was on purpose, then I would think we had a bigger problem. But I don't think it was on purpose. I think it's a situation where that is just something that they have been exposed to, so they just diametrically believe that this is how black people, black men are. And my guess is that when Fogelman pitched that show initially, I think that when he pitched it, Randall was a white character. And my takeaway or my speculation is that the white executives over at NBC said, we love it, but what if Randall was black? That's my thought. Am I so far from the truth? Who knows? Maybe I should do some research and find out. Talk to some folks over at NBC. I'm sure they probably won't return my calls, but I'll try. So as it stands, Randall, the supposed backbone of this show, is actually a wet noodle. And the fact that it is so, it exposes a much larger problem as to how black men are viewed and portrayed on television and in movies. Now, Mr. Fogelman, in my opinion, is out of touch. And not only is he being lauded for it, he is enabling a wide swath of America to reinforce their misconceptions through this show. This show is very popular. Millions and millions of people watch it every week. So this is reinforcing misconceptions and stereotypes when it comes to the black man. And what I think is that they need to get a grip, be more diligent in the research of this character, or hire some black writers to give Randall and his family a more accurate dimension. My opinion, of course. And I can't blame the actor. I think his name is Sterling K. Brown, who's a decent actor. He did very well in The People vs. O.J. Simpson. I think he was nominated for an Emmy. He may have won. I'm not quite sure if he won or not, but he is a decent actor and he's getting work. So that's always great to see. So I have nothing against Sterling, because the man got to eat. He's got to feed his family, and he's a middle-aged black man, so I'm sure he's been at this for a long time. And after many, many, many years of grinding, he's finally getting some recognition. So no shade on him at all. But I would love to at least think that since the show is such a huge hit, that Sterling would try to offer more input on how the character is developed going forward and how the character is written going forward. But I do think, if they haven't already, they should have some black consultants and writers on the show, especially when dealing with the Randall character. So finally, in today's volatile atmosphere where a spoiled, petulant, out of touch, racially biased rich man holds the nation's highest office, I think it is very, 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 especially what's going on today, lately with racial disharmony in America. I think it is very important that we counteract and not reinforce the tropes that continue to divide our country among racial lines. We need to show each other in a more positive light. We don't need a show where we got a spoiled, petulant white guy benefiting on white privilege, and on the other end of the spectrum in that same show, we got a successful black man who's basically getting dumped on by the system and being portrayed for, I'm sorry to say it, acting like a bitch. And that's what we call it in the black community, being a bitch, getting pushed around. So I hope that season 2 of This Is Us is going to recognize that fact and correct course. I doubt it, but hey, there's always hope. But I will say this much. Either way, I won't be watching. This is what Alonzo thinks. Bye.